The Last Spell is a word salad of gaming terms. A turn-based roguelite tactics game with RPG, RTS, and tower defense elements, it's a game that's trying to do something new by blending a lot of existing ideas. But packing so many concepts together often runs the risk of either being far too shallow in each of its features or being so complex to the point of being inscrutable. In this review, we'll talk about where The Last Spell succeeds in creating a unique blend of genres and where that blend maybe starts to show its cracks. To start off, the game's intro lays out a brief but incredibly grabby premise. Basically, a fantasy mage equivalent of Oppenheimer drops a magical nuke on a town, hoping to put a forceful end to the ongoing wars. But instead, he kicks off a magical arms race resulting in a worldwide nuclear wasteland replete with radiated mutants. Survivors of this devastated landscape begin killing the magical nuclear scientists in retribution. Fearing death, those mages find a way to reverse the damage and eradicate the mutants. A spell that would banish magic from the world, the Last Spell. Pretty sweet, right? Anyways, the entire game is about defending these mages while they charge up their energy to cast the world-saving spell. Getting into the game, you'll immediately notice that the art and music is top-notch. The pixel art is clean, detailed, and atmospheric with punchy animations, and it's accompanied the entire time by this synthy prog metal, which makes for a very fitting video game soundtrack. Now the gameplay. You control a handful of characters on a grid to kill the bad guys in turn-based combat. The goal is to protect the mage in the middle of the map. Your party's abilities are dictated by gear, as each weapon comes with a different skill set and other items also come with additional abilities. There are about 20 weapons, each with different damage types, status effects, and ability costs. Your characters also level, and each time they do, you pick 2 passive stat bonuses and a perk. The perk trees aren't super deep, but there's enough here to hit the main archetypes: physical, ranged, or magical damage, AoE or single unit, tank or DPS, buffs to status effects, etc. So far what I've described to you is your standard fare tactics RPG game, but where we really start to see some fresh takes in the Last Spell are in the RTS and tower defense elements. See, the enemy comes in waves, and after each wave there's a production phase, during which you spend 3 resources, workers, gold, and materials to heal and buff your party, build your town and its defenses, acquire gear, etc. Let's start with the workers. Every turn you generate workers that you can spend to activate buildings you have in town. For example, you can spend 1 worker to activate a mana well and regenerate mana for your party. The number of workers at your disposal during each production phase is determined by how many houses you have in town. This is where your gold comes in. You can spend gold to buy a variety of structures like these houses and mana wells. There are about a dozen buildings to build, like a temple which can heal your characters, buildings that give you passive income, production buildings to generate better gear, an inn from which you can recruit members into your party, etc. Structures will often have some free action like healing a single character, or you can spend workers for a boosted effect, like healing your whole party. Other structures simply provide a passive bonus, like generating a piece of gear every turn. Every structure can also be upgraded with gold to be more efficient or have greater effects. Finally, there's material, which is used to build defensive structures like walls, ballistas, catapults, and traps that are used during your combat phase to support your party. The last twist on top of all this is that your party and town does not persist. At the end of a run, whether you win or lose, they're lost forever. It's a roguelite, and as such there is meta progression that carries over between runs. This includes new gear, buffs to characters, and new buildings and defenses. These are unlocked in 2 ways, via an in-game currency called Tainted Essence, which you can get from killing enemies and hitting certain objectives, or via milestones that generally amount to do X thing Y times. So that's quite a lot, but despite the wide breadth of ideas this game incorporates, it's actually very approachable thanks to this handy checklist on the left. It'll walk you through every feature in the game, ensuring that you spend your resources, level and gear your characters, build your defenses, etc. In the combat phases too, it'll warn you if you might have forgotten to control a character, which is easy to do when there's so much going on your screen. You're also initially limited to just a few weapon types, buildings, and defenses before you've unlocked them via the meta progression mechanics, so it's quite easy to get a handle on the game right off the bat. As you can probably tell already, it's an incredibly deep game with a lot of potential for different build orders, synergies, and tactics. Yet, getting to grips with its many gameplay features is effortless thanks to its intuitive organization and presentation. This means you can quickly skip straight to the fun part, strategizing. What weapons do you go for? What perks do you choose? What do you spend your resources on? At least, that's how it should work in theory. In practice, not so much, and I think there's one genre at the core of the last spell that eventually cripples the rest: the roguelite elements. Unfortunately, there are many things in this game that do not mesh with the pacing and implementation of its meta progression. For one, the difficulty curve is quite steep to the point that you're effectively gated from beating certain stages of the game until you've unlocked the requisite buffs to your characters or buildings. So you have to play and lose to slowly build up enough buffs and bonuses to progress. This just feels bad and, in my opinion, misses the point of roguelites. A player should be able to overcome a roguelite game's mechanics either through skill or lucky rolls, with the meta progression ideally just introducing more complexity and customization to a playthrough. This is what games like FTL or Hades do really well. You can beat the boss in your very first run if you're good enough and lucky enough, and the meta progression just gives you more variety in your approach. Here, you simply cannot win until you've grinded out the necessary buffs. And to be clear, there's nothing I like more in gaming than a properly implemented grind, but the last spell forces upon you an incredibly slow and unsatisfying loop. You unlock things constantly, but once you unlock the majority of the buildings and defenses in the first few hours of the game, the moment-by-moment progression nosedives into lackluster passive bonuses like characters leveling faster or being able to do another action during their turn. They're completely unimaginative, yet still necessary to progress. And the RNG elements compound this. Your characters load with random traits and perk trees, which makes theory crafting a crapshoot. Even the items in the shops or gear you can create are randomized. This makes every run in the game feel exactly the same because even though you're ending up with a completely unique composition of characters, all of those compositions are a hodgepodge of randomized traits that limits the player from their vision of a synergized build. And each run takes hours, which makes it feel all the worse when you lose just from not having grinded enough through the meta progression. Devs released a feature called Omens a few months ago, which allows you to set certain bonuses before your run begins, like strengthening towers and traps or making certain weapon types more likely to appear. In theory, this feature should alleviate the issue of runs feeling repetitive and allow the player to tailor their runs, but like the meta progression, these buffs don't feel significant enough to alter the flow of the game. Some of the best omens you unlock are ones that simply makes your party do more damage or makes them level faster, which, while significant, just don't feel very special. I really disagree with the approach they took with the roguelite elements in this game. Roguelites are one of my favorite genres, and what I find joyful and addictive about the genre is that they're a bit like gambling. I love that feeling of luck and skill resulting in a completely OP build, having a once in a blue moon run of pure power fantasy. For me, that's the gravy in every great roguelite. And sure, you might have a dud run and some things might feel imbalanced or weak, but that variety is what helps push the epic runs to even greater heights. Comparatively, the last spell is measured and balanced, and I really wish it wasn't. It forces you to slog through its slow meta progression, watching the numbers slowly tick up when I wish it would just cut you loose with something off the wall and unique. Aside from the roguelite stuff, I was also really disappointed by the tower defense elements. I had fun with the towers at first, min-maxing resources to get passive income early, placing walls and towers, upgrading them, but there's no variety in the defensive structures, just a couple towers and a few traps, all of which have a linear upgrade that simply makes it do more damage. After a while, managing your resources and building defenses just becomes a repetitive, brainless thing you do during every run. Okay, so that was a lot of negatives, but it's not that the last spell is a bad game. I enjoyed it for the first 15 hours or so. Its unique blend of genres is one I have never experienced before, and roguelite tactics games appeal to me greatly as someone who lacks the attention span to play through something like Disgaea. despite numerous attempts. If you are a fan of tactics games, I still think you should consider giving this one a go. Yeah, I soured on it, but I also enjoyed it at first, and hey, maybe it'll click for you. Scroll through the Steam reviews and you'll see plenty of people who have dropped dozens of hours into this thing, and most people are very positive on it. Apparently, at a certain point, when you've slogged through all of the necessary meta progression, the game really starts to open up and allows you to truly strategize and make unique builds. I couldn't get there, but maybe you will. If you're interested, it's available for $25 on Steam, where it's been in early access since June 2021, but it's also coming out to consoles soon. It's about to leave early access and release its 1.0 version on March 9th, and on that same day, it will also release for the first time on the PS4, PS5, and the Switch. Alright, that's it. Last time I said see you next month, and it took me 6 months to return, so this time I'll just say, I'll see you when I see you. Thanks.